Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everywhere you are joining in from the world. My name is Cindy. I'm the Systems Learning Coordinator, and we are here today for the first session of the Social Innovation Learning Series. On this first session, we have Radovan and Sylvie, two amazing facilitators of this session. And this first session on making systems shift is going to be basically more focused on the methodologies and theoretical side. And we hope you love it as much as we loved creating it for you. I'm going to pass it to Sylvie, who's the moderator of today's session, and she's going to explain to you a bit more. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Cindy. Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, hola. It's great to welcome everyone from so many parts of the world. And today we're focusing on making system shift approaches to social innovation, where basically we want to explore how change happens across sectors, across communities, across systems, political systems, economic systems, social systems, food systems. That's just what we're going to explore today. And I'm going to be introducing Radovan who is going to be our presenter today, but also we're being supported by Cindy and by Komi from Catalyst, which is really great. I would encourage all of the participants to write into the chat your name, where you're from, your affiliation. We have such a diverse group of people, and it will be great to connect with everyone. So let me take a moment to introduce Radovan Pérez Restovic, who's director of the Centro de Innovación e Impacto Social in Puebla, Mexico. Radovan has over 19 years of experience in social innovation and higher education and community development. He works right now at the university where he leads the social service program. He's also the Ashoka U Changemaker lead. He coordinates social impact projects. And we really look forward to hearing Radovan share his experiences. And from there, we'll be able to reflect together and share our experiences on what works, what are some of the challenges, and how we can overcome them. So over to you, Radovan.
Thank you very much, Sylvie and Cindy and Komi and all of you to be in this session. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. This came up some months ago in somewhere in the world where I met Gabriela Arenas, and we sat on the bus and she told me, oh, you should join Catalyst and you should do this and you should present what you're doing. So here am I. Happy to share with you this, what we're doing here in Puebla and how we approach social innovation through our Center for Social Innovation and Social Impact in UPAEP. So first, I would like to share some context of who we are and where we are. We are a private university in central Mexico. We serve a lot of the southeast part of the country. We are a faith-based university. We have more than 18,000 students in different levels. We have high schools, we have bachelor's degree, and we have masters and doctorates here in UPAEB in many disciplines and that you can imagine. And one of the things that is very important for us, our university was born as a social entrepreneurship or social innovation initiative because our university was, our state, the Puebla state, was going through a social crisis between two probably political views in the moment. And the public university was closed. They were in strikes, and there were a lot of students that wanted to have access to education. So many professors and students in a volunteer way started to have classes in the streets and in a very solidarity way to share their knowledge, and that's how our university was born in like 52 years ago. So our mission, it's very social based. We one of the main things about what we do is train leaders who will transform society in a positive way. And that's what has made us drive through in all of this strategy in order to have these students that will really make a difference in society. It's also important to say that we are part of the Shokayu network. We're one of the 3 universities in Mexico that have this designation since 2015. Shokayu gives this designation to universities and colleges that have proven that social innovation and change making is part of their DNA and the core of what they do. And we are this alliance or being part of this Changemaker Campus network has helped us to strengthen our abilities in social innovation, to learn from others, to share also what we do and how we do it, and to build bridges between countries and students and universities in trying to achieve this everyone a changemaker world. So this center was created in 2019 as a response of the increased demanding of students that were leading social projects in the university, and that we had a space in which we could mentor students in a better way. Also to have here in Mexico, it's one of the few countries in the world that have mandatory community service in order to get the bachelor's degree. All the students from bachelor's have to do at least 480 hours of community service. And as part of the Center for Social Innovation, Social Impact, we had to make a better strategy. So this community service, which is mandatory, and that's sometimes an obstacle for students because they see it as mandatory, to make it would be meaningful for them and for the community partners that we work with. So what we do in the center, and then we'll go into how we do it. As I said, we are in charge of having these relationships with community partners, governmental and nonprofit, for the mandatory community service. We also offer an elective course in which we go through social innovation processes, and we always work with a community partner so we can solve a challenge that they present to us. We also provide this mentorship for students in different majors and different programs that are leading social projects. And we also lead the volunteering initiatives in the university, also working with community partners. So all of this is landed in a strategy, a model that we adapted and developed, that it's our social innovation model. And it's not rocket science. We learn from other models, from other ways to do it, from other universities and how they do it. And we landed this social innovation model in this way, not forgetting that we are a university, and our mission is to train students, to provide the students abilities so they can be transformative leaders in society. So, and this model is a product of the experience of the learning from other universities, other organizations, of how they do it. And it has like a UPAEP seal in all of this. Certain things and certain remarks that we wanted to imprint in this model that are proper to our DNA and what we do at the university. So first, for us, it's very important that students identify and recognize the problem that they want to address. It is for us very important because if it doesn't hurt them, if they're not passionate about it, if they don't really care about it, it will be very difficult for them to to do something about it. And I always ask the students if they've had a stone in their shoes. You know, you're walking and all of a sudden you get like a little stone in your shoe, and what do you do when you have that small stone in your shoe? So they always answer, well, we usually take off the shoe and take it out. And yeah, that's what we should do. I ask them why, and they always tell, or usually tell, because it hurts, or because it's uncomfortable. And that's the same thing that we want them to reflect on, what's bothering them, what's hurting them, so they can do something about it. So if our strategy is based on, we always work with teams of students from different disciplines, and they come together because of they share this common hurt, passion, or problem that they want to address. Once we have this challenge or social problem identified, then yes, Sylvie.
Yes, Radovan, there's some background noise when you
Okay.
speak, and I'm just wondering if that's something that you're able to address in any way. It seems
Let me.
that you may be in a room with a few people.
Yeah, let me see if I can do something about it. Let me see. Just a minute.
Thank you. As Radovan is getting ready, I'll just say a few words about myself. I opened the session, but I am joining you from Ottawa at the St. Paul University, where I'm part of their Transformative Leadership Institute. So over to you, Radovan.
Sorry. It's one thing about the space where I work with, that we don't have doors, because we always welcome students to come. So it's something. It sometimes happens that there's noise. Sorry for that.
No problem. We can hear you. Thank
Okay,
you.
so once we have this problem identified, then we try to make this deep analysis of the problem. We've learned from different fellows from Ashoka Network and from different strategies that systems thinking is so important in order to address really the problem. And it's more important to learn about the problem, to know the problem, that to have a specific solution. So we try to go with the students into a deep analysis of the problem using systems thinking, different tools that we have, and we've appropriated from other organizations and other universities, so we can have this map of the system in the best way possible, so our students really understand the problem, and that it's complex. It is, and that is not easy to address in a very simple way. We also go through this other phase that we try to learn what other experiences are there, what other solutions are there for same problems or similar problems in other contexts, in other geographies, in other even regions of the country, so they can learn if those solutions have worked, if they haven't worked, if there's something that it's not being addressed by those solutions. So then we can situate where is more relevant for our students to go and do something about it. Then we go into the ideation and creativity phase, in which we try students to work with their community, with other people, in order to have the better ideas and prototype the better ideas in order to address the problem with all this understanding and learning about the system that they're trying to work with. Then we go through this validation process and run the solution. And we always work with local partners, with communities, with schools, with governments, local governments, because we understand that if the solutions are not community-based, if they're not run also by the community, then it's not good, it's not going to be sustainable. Then we go through the adjustment and learning process where we have to rethink or probably adjust things that are not working, or we have to go 2 steps behind in order to make a change in what we're doing. And finally, we go through the evaluation process and try to scale the solutions. And for us, it's very relevant in all this process that all of the projects and the ideas that come and we work with students are based on a common good perspective. We are not thinking about making it a business. We're not thinking about how are we going to make money out of it. We are doing it because we believe that all the things that our students do must serve the community, must be for use for the community. And that's why we, on the bottom, we have this, the common good pedagogy that we have developed. We try the students to go through a comprehensive experience where they learn and have an immersion process. They encounter culture where they go out and they go to the community. They face the problem. They face the people that deal with the problem. Then we push them and drive them so they can put their leadership in action, this transformative leadership that we are trying to imprint in them. And then we try these solutions or this process to serve the common good, to serve as much people as we can. So we've developed, and I will share it to you, a toolkit. And I'll share here the link on the chat. It's a toolkit that we've shared with many tools and explanations that our students can go through and can visit. That. And for us, that toolkit is in process of renewing, and there are many things that we try to improve in it. It's not a finished process. We are still adjusting in our model. And I just wanted to share some of the examples of what we're doing. But first, I wanted to stop on this slide because we've learned that still here in Mexico, there are many competitions and there are many calls for students to address a problem and have a very good pitch and have a presentation, and it will be like a great thing to do, and then nothing really happens. You know, it's just a competition, and they made the presentation, they made the pitch, they had their business model, and it was just like a school project. And we're trying to go through a systems change perspective with our students. So they go really into the community. They really go with the people that are dealing with the problems. We find the different actors in which we can have an intervention together in order to start small movements into a systems change into that problem or into that possibility of change. So I wanted to share very quickly some of the examples that we have working with students. We have more or less 20 projects in process right now, more than 75 students that are leading these projects. These projects have an impact on more than 60 communities with more than 20 partners and more than 6,000 people that are being impacted by these projects in the state of Puebla and in the surroundings of the state of Puebla. And I will just share three examples of this kind of projects and how are we going through this process and how this process is seeking to make a systems change little by little in what they do. So the first project is called ISEL. It's a native language word that means unique. The students that lead this project are from different majors. One of cinematic production. The other one is from veterinary school. The other one is from international commerce, and the other one is accounting. Nothing to do with cultural identity, but they share this this common hurt or thing that was bothering them, and is that in their communities they were losing their cultural identity. So they started to see how could they address this problem, and they developed these workshops. They introduced art into these workshops, so students from these ages 15 to 20 could learn about their cultural identity, to learn some words that were being lost, some legends, some music, some the importance of all these cultural elements that are there and probably we take as granted, or the students really didn't value as part of their identity. And after a process of 4 years of working in four or five communities in different states of the country, they developed this booklet where they tried to put together the different activities, concepts, workshops, and everything that they needed so they could transfer the knowledge to another organization, a school, or another, or even the young students, so they could replicate this strategy. They trained 102 students in how to replicate this strategy, two high schools and one nonprofit organization. And actually yesterday we signed an agreement with this organization that they're going to implement this strategy, this project as part of their strategy to strengthen cultural identity in 45 communities in which they have impact. So through their direct experience, they first were the ones who developed these workshops. Then they started to organize and put together all the experience into this booklet, and now they were able to share it to local communities, to local organizations, so they could make this strategy of strengthening cultural identity as part of their organization or the local organization. Another experience, another project that I want to share is this one called, also in a native language, Nechelnamiki, that the translation is Remember Me. And these students, they're from veterinary school, kinesiology, law school, and infirmary school or nursing school. They shared the hurt. They heard together that the elderly people were being left out in society here in Mexico. They were worried about having a culture of respect to the elderly people. They learned that many elderly people were left alone, were forgotten by their families, or probably their caregivers didn't have the tools for them to have a better quality of life for them. So after 4 years of working in this subject, in this topic, they developed this guide of basic care for caregivers, in which they not only consider like like how to take the heart pressure and their glucose levels, but also how to deal with the patient, how to move them in a better way, and also how to work with their emotions. This guide was developed after this process, and it was shared to two retirement homes, to gerontology area in a local hospital, and also it was published by the Human Rights Commission in Puebla. This means that um, now it's public for it's in the website of the Human Rights Commission of the state of Puebla. Everyone can have access to it. It's open source to anyone who wants to learn how to have a better care for the elderly people, and it was meant to have this impact on this population. And finally, the last example of how we are trying to shift to systems change is this other project called Yolchicawak, also in a native language. The translation is strong, healthy, or good heart. And the students from medicine school, from psychology school, and from accounting school, and from politics and government school, they were worried about there's a lot of information on how to prevent some illnesses in rural communities, but there's not a good way to communicate this information to different populations. So what they did, and they focused on kids, on children on grade school. I mean, if you present information to kids in school on how to take care of their health in a very technical way, they're not going to learn it. It's not going to work. So after learning this problem and visiting the different health centers in different communities, talking to parents, talking to schools, talking to doctors, there's something missing between the information and how the message is being sent to the community. So they developed a series of games so that kids by playing, they would learn how to develop healthy habits in their lives. And they're based in 5 pillars. Knowing your body, because probably a lot of kids don't know where the stomach is or the heart is, or and what's their function. So learning about the body, learning about hygiene, how to wash your hands, how to wash your mouth, how to have a correct bath every time that you have able to have it and develop these habits throughout their daily lives. The third pillar is physical activity. Mexico is one of the first countries with child obesity in the world, and it's because we don't have enough physical activity in schools. Third is nutrition, how we could eat better. And third is knowing your emotions. So with these 5 pillars, they developed 3 games, very active and fun games for students from this age. So they could, by playing, they could learn about this, how to have these healthy habits. We found a partnership with a local state government institution, and we trained more than 700 educators with this technique. We gave them the games, the tools, everything that they needed so they could play with these games. These educators are in 468 schools in the state of Puebla, in more than 400 communities, and today more than 4,000 students are playing these games and learning how to have healthy habits in their daily lives. So this is how we are doing this strategy of having training our students in social innovation and how to think about not only focusing on a solution but learning the problem, having this view of how can we start making some systems change in their communities with the institutions so we can have a better society, so we can address these really tough problems that these communities are facing. So that's it for me. Here's my email, and I'll be happy to share some other ideas and hear your questions if you have any.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Radovan. And before we launch into our Q&A, I'd like to spend just a moment to share what I heard and also what I saw in the chat in terms of initial questions. So first of all, you started by sharing your identity as a faith-based university and the perspective that you have with all of your projects to focus on the common good. You talked about this bridge building that is enabling you to create partnerships across institutions, including government, and educational partners. And what was an interesting observation is that this openness to bridge building translates into what you described as no doors, right? You said, we have no doors here. People can come in and out. And so obviously it's something that you live every day. And you talked then about that social innovation model that helps to provide a framework for your actions and your reflections. And part of what you highlighted, which came through in the project, is this ownership that students have of the problem. You want to start with them and make sure that it's driven by their own experiences. And then you talked about the systems thinking and systems mapping that is being done with communities. And I really relate to everything you're saying because I teach this course, Design and Social Innovation, and we do implement these types of approaches. And it's so great to see that happening, on a global scale. And I share your observation of the need to start small in order to be able to scale. But you also highlighted a challenge that some of our other participants today may have experienced, which is this challenge of going from pitch to action. It's one thing to have a project, but it's another thing to actually do something that enables systems change. So, and then you shared some really interesting examples, and I don't want to spend too much time, but I really appreciate the fact that you gave examples where on the one hand people are using art and music to strengthen a cultural identity. People are promoting respect for the elderly by going into retirement homes. People are using games in order to create a healthy habits in young children. So it really shows the scope and range of what you're doing. And I think as a result, you're very well placed to answer some of the questions. Now, a couple of comments that I saw in the chat initially, which I'll share, and then the folks can comment on is we had Jose Maria who talked about this, integrating faith and science. So a couple of the comments in the chat were about this either, I don't know if it's a dichotomy or a continuum between faith and science, and maybe you have a comment on that. And then Jim also talked about this notion of systems thinking and analysis on the other hand, and asked if there was a native word for systems thinking. So maybe we'll start the Q&A with that. Do you have any observations or comments on these initial observations from folks?
Yeah, well, answering that, if there's a native word in systems thinking, I don't know, but I'll take that as a task to ask some of the students because and probably I didn't share this. Most of these projects are led by students that come from these communities. We have a full scholarship program for indigenous and rural students that don't have access to high quality higher education. So we receive every year about 15 or 20 students from different communities, and these are the students that are leading most of these projects. But I will ask them if they have a word. And regarding the faith and science, I think it's how to have like this transcendent perspective, but not just because of we believe in, but because we have some data and we are really uh, having scientific support or research support on all the projects. These students develop all this research and are really we have like portfolios of all the work through their process, and they really have to have this data and this support of that what they're doing is based on data and science, and we do it because of we want to transcend through these projects within the students, right? I hope I answered these questions.
That's good. And Cindy's been watching the chat. Cindy, is there anything in the chat that I've missed before I ask some of my own questions and before we explore in small groups?
Yeah, there was a question from Jim.
About this, is that the one about the systems thinking and analysis? I mentioned that one, yeah.
Okay, and then there is another one that just came in that says, please share how do you intend to sustain the initiatives, partnerships, funding mode? Are you selling product innovation directly or indirectly with the intervention?
Yeah, so I mean, we are we know that students will or they want to keep their professional development in other areas that are not specifically this project. Maybe some of them will want to keep on working with these projects, but our strategy to sustain these initiatives is basically by transferring the experience, the knowledge, the products that we have developed to the local actors that will introduce them, adapt them, and make them part of their daily work or their daily strategies in their communities. For example, the last one, the project of health habits, they got funding from MedLife Foundation, and that's what how they were we managed to have all these tools and kits imprinted and given away and trained all of these teachers, and now they're developing a website with all the contents that will be available for whoever wants to access them. They also translated the contents into 5 native languages of the state of Puebla, so it would be accessible for teachers that speak that native language, and that it would make sense for students in that speak that native language. So for us, those are the strategies that we are trying to establish in order to yeah find some sustainability throughout time. We cannot guarantee that some of them will last because we don't have. I mean, we're a very small team, and students will go into their different jobs and things that they have to do. But that's how we are trying to have this sustainability strategy throughout time.
So thank you, Radovan, for talking about the sustainability of systems change, because this is so important and also related, as you kind of highlighted, to the kind of funding that is available. One of the core questions in relation to this theme of making systems shift is, what do you see as the key systems that are having to change, and how are these systems connected? Because you talked, for example, about the importance of language for communication and translating, so that the whole cultural system is there, and you've talked about the health system, and so maybe you have some comments about those systems. What are they in the context of where you are in Mexico, and how are those connected?
Well, see, Mexico and specifically the state of Puebla, it's a state with a lot of contrast. We have a very rich cities. The city of Puebla is one of the 4 or 5 biggest cities and richest cities in the country, but also one of with more disparity in distance with poverty and in different communities. And I think that one of the challenges that we face is having this tension, constant tension between what happens in the rural communities that probably here in the city we are not really aware and immersed in what's happening. But or I think that the advantage that we have is that our students that are part of those communities, and once they come to study here with us in our university, now they're changing the way they see their communities and learn things from these other systems that are in the city, more urban, more complex, and then go back with all these tools so they could start small changes. And I think that one of the clues is that now I mean, with the tools and trying to help them develop this systems thinking approach, they learn that their community is more complex than they thought, and that they have to consider the different actors that are being part of their community, and which actors and which organizations and or which people would be important to have an alliance or a collaboration, so we could start these small changes in those complex systems, because it's not easy. And now that drug dealing in the rural communities has been also part, it's all with a lot of layers of complexity. But I think that providing these students these tools will help them to approach in a different way what they do and how they do it in their communities.
So this is helpful, Radovan, because even though you're speaking about Mexico, this notion of the urban and rural divide is something that is relevant for all communities and all continents. And if I hear correctly, you're saying that at the university, you're allowing for this integration of urban and rural understanding and preparing people to bring the knowledge across these systems. And you're helping people to understand the complexity of their own communities and how to work with different actors. What are some of those, what are some of the surprises that you've had in terms of things that you've discovered about this complexity of systems that your projects have enabled you to achieve from a social change perspective?
Well, I think that as we see the students like apply these tools and have and be more mature in how they approach their community on or their problems, they come out with different new proposals. Hey, why don't we go with this and talk to them and do this alliance and do that? I think that they are being empowered to really be change makers in their communities. And also, it's very interesting that some of these students from these programs that come from rural and indigenous communities will go into an exchange program, and probably will go to Europe because of the language, to Spain. And we asked them to, hey, you should do some volunteering in that country. So we had a student from this first project that we shared, Isel. She was volunteering in the south of Spain in an organization that worked with people from Morocco that were immigrants in Spain. So how can you widen your perspective on this cultural identity issue that is not only a problem in your community, but it's a worldwide problem? So those things bring into the project new perspectives, new approaches, and new ways to deal with these complex situations, and try to like lower it to the local levels. How can this experience and these learnings, can we adapt it and adopt it into a local context? And I think that's what we've been amazed how students can do that, bringing all of this urban city and all this exposure to different things into adapting it to a local context, so that makes sense to the community.
That's super. So you talked before about this urban and rural integration, and now you're talking about the global and local. I think, again, that's something that's so relevant to all communities. And before we go to breakout groups and explore this a little bit more in a smaller setting, I'd like to share a question from Abigail, who says, I really love how UPAEP embeds social entrepreneurship into required you student social service. I'm interested to find out how you balance preparation and support so that the students can act as authentic change makers without being overwhelmed by systemic complexity.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we face because how do I put it? I think higher education has become like a very complex system, you know, in which the academic part sometimes it's more important for students or teachers than all these change making skills. And we deal with this tension that students are more worried in, yeah, totally, are more worried about having the grade than the learning, or the grade than the experience, you know. And we try to let them know that all this community service, all these social projects can be like a as important school than their discipline, because they're going to learn things that they will not learn in the classroom. Being exposed to the community, to the local partners, to institutional partners, will give them more tools than they will learn in the classroom. And how I try to encourage them to keep on is that if you are competing for an employment with a student that only came into classes and just to the classroom and left home, and you that you went to classes, develop a social project, do your community service, I bet you have more tools and more abilities than the one that did not was not involved in all the strategies. So it's not easy to work with this tension, but I think that our students value at the end of their experience what they learn, all the achievements they've done, and the having this thank you from the community, or this appreciation from their community to say thank you for what you did in our community because it has helped us, or they go back to their community and people see them as, oh, you were so proud of you because you are a change maker, you know.
Super. That's really good. So what I'd like to propose, Radovan and Cindy and Komi, if you're good, is to organize some small group discussions where we can delve a little bit deeper. I put in the chat like a proposed question for the small groups, which is where do you see in your own experiences systems getting stuck? And, you know, reflecting on what's been shared today, how might we unlock them? What's a hopeful example of systems change that you've witnessed? And perhaps that's something that we can share back together. Any comments on that, Radovan and Cindy, before we do a breakout?
I have opened the rooms so you can easily join. In case you have any issue, let me know and I can.
And how many minutes will we be giving people? 10 minutes?
10 minutes, yeah, 10 minutes.
So it'll be short, 10 minutes, and it'll be great to to get a little bit of sharing afterwards when people come back.
Yeah.
Everyone for taking the time to exchange with one another, share your experiences, meet someone new. And we have a couple of minutes if anyone is interested to share a highlight of your conversation. And then I'll have one comment before passing it back to Cindy. Anyone have a haha moment or insight that they would like to share? So now I have to change my view so I can actually see you.
I'll,
Jim, I think I see Jim. Jim with
Yeah.
the deep, Jim, you have a deep question, right? Deep questions about the underlying structure of society and can local change actually make? So what were the highlights of your conversation?
Well, yes, because I've been in a different situation. 32 years ago, I had a breakthrough insight, an epiphany about how our system can't work and how to facilitate it to transform itself. And so it's a breakthrough. It's like everybody wants to think we're an incremental change and we have to get everybody to work together and co-create an answer. Well, sometimes there's breakthroughs that happen, and all of that shuts down openness to breakthroughs. So I'm waiting for people to get scared enough to get curious. Oh, what else is out there? We're screwed. What do we do? And so that's happening. Certainly in the United States right now, it's happening. So people are scared and they're ready to look. So it's an odd place to be. I want students to be empowered. I want them to be happy. I want them to have positive vision. But I also want them to realize, hey, this isn't working. We have to change. What do we do? And so that's my it's anyway, I had a great listener, and I don't know that I can actually say his name, but he was really awesome. And so that was fun.
Yeah, it's always great how serendipity puts us in touch with people in these rooms. It's always a great discovery and always worthwhile for people that join. But again, I think, Jim, what's very interesting is you've highlighted one of the kind of dynamics that has come up from this whole conversation, which is these dichotomies, or they're either dichotomies or paradoxes or continuums, depending on how you see them. This notion of incremental versus radical change. Are we driven by curiosity? Are we driven by fear? And of course, we're not going to answer that today, but I think we've had an example with Radovan's stories and experience
Mm,
of how to lay some foundations for both incremental and ultimately kind of radical change. Any other insights or highlights from any of the other groups? Who would like to share? Yes, Abigail.
It's not an insight. I put my question in the chat because I mentioned in our group that I feel like sometimes we're preaching to the converted. And for me, it's like, how can we get diverse perspectives around the fire? How can we have those that are actually can make a big dent in the system to participate in this kind of conversation? Because our time on this planet is kind of finite. And I love incremental changes, but how can we like just kind of I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And Alexis mentionne que l'accompagnement des jeunes et des femmes dans cette situation sont difficiles. So there are certain groups that for whom it's much more difficult to engage in these types of systems change processes. And I'd like to maybe give the last word to Radovan. Radovan, you participated in the group as well, and you got to share your experiences. Any comments or insights?
Well, we talked about with Abigail and Maria that we have to start some changes within every person that because at the end all the systems are run by people. So these are things that we have to start shifting within ourselves, within our views, and how can we approach the realities that we are living through this lens of complexity and systems thinking. And I think, I believe that if we start making some changes in how we look at the others and how can we relate with others from a person-to-person perspective without tags or yeah, that could change. The bridges that you can build with others that think different from you could be different.
Radovan, I really support what you're saying. I've just started a role with the Transformative Leadership Institute here at St. Paul University. And one of the reasons is that the focus of this particular group is on the starting with inner change before inner change is a foundation for systems change. So it's hard work, but there's hope. And it's great to see that there's a community of people that are willing to invest the time in that. So thanks to everyone who participated and stayed along. I'm going to move it on to Cindy. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you once again to Radovan and Sylvie for an amazing presentation and session. I would kindly ask you if you can support us in filling out this poll that you see right now on your screens. It is really helpful for us to know a bit better what you prefer than not and how we can better align for the upcoming sessions. If Komi can please share the slides. I just would like to present to you really quickly some of the upcoming events. We have two events on book launches. The first one is on September 4th. So next week is Emily Castriel on her deep listening. And the second one, which we are really happy to present and to invite you all, it's a book about Ukraine, about the war in there. We're going to have the author of the book, and it's going to take place on September 23rd. Then, for those of you who are interested in fundraising, we are back with the fundraising sessions with Black Fox on September 8th, so really soon as well, and October 28th. And lastly, but not least, we invite you to submit an article for Catalyst now for our Medium platform if you are interested or you like to write and publish. As well, check out the new articles that we have published. You now can find on the chat the contact point, the call for papers, and also see around if you prefer other languages or you are a native speaker of another language, you can find some other translations in there as well. With that being said, of course, you can see the links in the chat, but as well, you will receive a lot of emails by me with the links to invite you all. And thank you so much once again, and we will see you all really soon, I hope, in other sessions. So we always say goodbye in our native languages, so if you want, you can open your mics and see you soon. So, faleminderit.